public. Come on forward, John.
Good evening, members of the board. Charles Kratovil, New Brunswick today. I have a few questions. First about your attorney. So, your attorney, is he a city employee or is he a contractor?
That's a question for the city council. That's not for us.
Well, I'm sure he would know, right?
Well, I think you need to address that with the governing body. I don't know how to answer that.
You don't know if you're an employee of the city of New Brunswick?
That's exactly what I said.
Okay, so that's
I don't
just,
know.
I mean, that's astonishing to hear that
Well,
someone's unsure if they're an employee.
with all due respect, there are many things in the world that are astonishing, and that certainly isn't one of them.
Okay, I'm surprised that question couldn't be answered tonight. How much is your attorney's salary pay?
I believe that is another question that should go to the city council. That's all in the minutes, John. You've been going to the...
Yeah, and I've never seen them vote on the salary of the zoning board attorney.
I believe it's in there.
In where?
In the minutes, when they approve any attorney or any...
But actually you hired him, not the city council.
City council approves it, I do believe.
I've been attending for years and years. I've never seen that type of an approval. Perhaps the planning director could enlighten us about these matters.
Certainly. To the best of my knowledge, and I reserve the right to be wrong since I don't have the information in front of me, I believe Mr. Ital is technically a part-time employee of the city of New Brunswick.
Okay. And do you happen to know the pay, the salary?
I don't want to speak to it because I don't know exactly, but if you request the information from me after this meeting, like via email tomorrow, I can verify and get you a number.
I understand. That's understandable not to know that off the top of your head. So, it's worth noting he's also the planning board attorney, so he's being paid for both jobs in one salary, is my understanding. And I just wanted to understand, what the arrangements would be if he's unable to attend a meeting of either the zoning or planning board. Does he have to provide his own replacement? Would one of his law partners show up? Or
that is, I guess, context dependent. So this last year, we had Carl Kem from McManaman, Scotland, as a conflict attorney. So he was our backup this year. As you may recall from the last meeting, Mr. Ital was not able to be a part of that meeting because the applicant had been a client of his firm, but Mr. Kem could not make it, and so I believe, I'll reserve to Mr. Ital to correct me, but I believe that he went out and found someone from outside his firm to represent the city in his stead.
Okay, so I remember it was Mr. Abode, but so that was
Yes.
a person selected by Mr. Ital.
I believe so. For Mr. Ital.
So I'm just to be clear, Mr. Abode was selected by you to be the replacement.
No, it was actually selected by the board because I believe Mr. Bode appeared before the board and the board permitted him to proceed. I did provide the name and he is a qualified planning and zoning board attorney. Actually, I believe that the board was advised that he was the planning and zoning board attorney in South Brunswick.
Okay. And the reason I asked about the salaries is not to be nosy, but I just do want to know that if...
It's a matter of public record. I just don't want to give you a figure.
Yeah, of course. No, but just so you know, the reason I'm asking is because I do want to know if that salary is, for instance, dependent on complete attendance at every meeting. So if there are, for instance, let's say 10% of the hearings, Mr. Ital is not able to make it or has a conflict, does he get paid any less or not? Or is it just a flat rate for the year?
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Kratovil, I don't believe that I've been absent because of illness. Zoning board probably once in many years. As far as a conflict goes, I know that there have been other occasions, and every conflict, there was an attorney that was qualified to sit in because they were either planning or zoning board attorney or both in other jurisdictions, and they served without any additional cost to the city.
Understood.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to turn my back.
Yeah, no, it's
to you.
okay.
It's just very difficult. It's all right.
That's fine. And so my next question is about the Technical Advisory Committee. I understand Mr. Eitel sometimes attends those. Is that part of the salary or part of the role? Does he have to find a replacement if he's not able to make it to a TAC meeting?
Mr. Kratovil, the attendance of the attorney is not mandatory at the Technical Advisory Committee meetings. If there is a minor site plan committee meeting, then the attorney would be present for that. And this is, I missed the past meeting because of the League of Municipalities Convention. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, and just
Okay.
for the record, there was no replacement attorney in that meeting.
There was no minor site plan either.
Right.
I think if there was, I would have found someone to fill in.
Understood, okay. But as you may know, I was not permitted to be in that meeting, so that's why I'm asking if there was an attorney representing, the city in that meeting. And so the reason I'm talking about the TAC is because, as you may recall, on July 8th, this board rushed through, I would say, a major development by Recon Services. I had not seen the environmental impact statement. I was not able to get the environmental impact statement until well after the hearing, and I was not pleased with this. I asked you to hold off on the approval. You went ahead and approved it, and after the meeting, I had I guess you call it a colloquy with Mr. Eitel, and he told me, quote, "You should come to the TAC meetings," and that was his constructive suggestion for me to not be caught off guard again and to not be out of the loop on major developments that I wanted to be in the loop on. And I will point out that over the next several meetings of the planning and zoning boards, I did ask follow-up questions to find out when the TAC meeting was, and I learned about the differences between the TAC and the minor site plan committee, and eventually the invitation to attend the TAC meetings was no longer the same invitation that had been offered following that July 8th meeting, but it became more of a, you can attend the TAC meetings if the applicant is okay with it. And so, as I pointed out earlier tonight, I did attend the August 21st meeting of the TAC, at least part of it, the part that dealt with the Three Amigos application. That day there was also a minor site plan committee meeting that was, for the first time in history, open to the public, and I was proud to be the only member of the public there, and I did document that. But I am concerned now that the stated on-the-record policy that I would be allowed to attend TAC meetings if the applicant was okay with it, that has apparently gone by the wayside, been reneged on. It was whatever precipitated that decision being made, that's been changed. I learned this, I was surprised at the most recent TAC meeting when I,
Hey, Charlie, we have a question about the zoning board, because that's the TAC committee. I don't think anyone up here sits on the TAC committee, so what does that have to do with us?
Well, it has to do with the fact that after that rushed approval on July 8th, your attorney recommended that I start attending the TAC meetings as a way to be more informed and more informed in advance of your meetings, and I thought it was a good suggestion. I was happy to be welcomed there, and now to find out that that has changed, I just want to understand why was it changed, who changed that rule, and why am I now not allowed to attend TAC meetings even if the applicant wants me there? That was how it was explained to me by your planning director. I just want to hear, I had a discussion with Danny about it.
This is completely accurate, and I told him that he could discuss it with Mr. Ital and ask Mr. Ital questions regarding the why. But,
And it was said that you may even get out in front of him, I may even hear from him prior to this meeting, but I haven't heard from him. So I want to know, why did he renege on his promise that I would be allowed to attend TAC meetings if the applicant was okay with it? What is the reason for
Mr.
that
Kratovil, if I may?
change? Yes.
They're not my TAC meetings, so I didn't renege or prohibit you from entering my meeting, okay? Let's make that clear.
Okay.
Second is that we're all bound by the law, and I agree. I think that we all need to be bound by the law, and Mr. Kratovil, one thing that you're not mentioning is that I apologize to you because I said I was wrong. And I differentiated the difference between a TAC and the preliminary site plan meeting, or I'm sorry, the minor site plan meeting, which is open to the public. The TAC is not. And I'll give you the legal position, which is that it is under NJSA 10:4-8, not a meeting. There's a very specific definition of what a meeting is and what's open, what is covered by the Open Public Meetings Act. The TAC does not fit into the definition of a meeting, and therefore it does not need to comply with the Sunshine Law, and it's not an open meeting where the general public can come in. This would be sort of akin to, the director of planning having a discussion with other people that work in the planning department, and a member of the public saying, well, it's my tax money, so I'm going to walk into this meeting. The applicant can certainly invite you if he wants to go. And Mr. Kratovil, one thing that you're not mentioning, and Mr. Clark can probably clarify that, was that you didn't ask. You actually said, do you have a problem with me attending the TAC, or something to those words, to that effect. Mr. Clarkin was not advised that he could say no, that he had the opportunity to say no. So I'm not trying to say that you did anything untoward, but I think that if you're going to be open and transparent, that it certainly include the information to an applicant's attorney or an applicant. Hey, listen, I know that I'm not permitted in there. However, if you want me there, I'd love to go. Would you invite me to come in?
You're free to put whatever you like on the record. I think I did nothing wrong by asking.
I'm not suggesting that you did, Mr. Kratovil. I'm just trying to, you're very good about saying this is for the record and that you're trying to be complete. And I just want to be complete as well.
And I appreciate that. For the record.
It's all for the record, Mr. Kratovil. We attorneys and non-attorneys alike say that they preface it with, for the record. You're right. It's all for the record.
Exactly. And for the record, I had no idea that anyone had any issue with me attending, continuing to attend meetings of the TAC without the objection of the applicant. I asked in what I thought was a fair way, and there was no objection, so I did
Mr.
attend
Kratovil,
on that
what I
one.
was suggesting was that it's not the objection of the applicant or the applicant's attorney, it's the invitation of the applicant.
More of
or
an
the
affirmative
applicant's attorney.
invite.
Yeah, hey Charlie, we'd like you to attend. That's different than you asking, hey, I'm going to attend. You don't have a problem with that.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Well,
I didn't
no,
say
no,
I'm going to attend.
no,
I put the ball in their court, and
I don't,
Mr.
I'm not
Clark
trying
is
to
a
put words in your
professional.
mouth. I apologize if my shorthand abbreviation is not quite exactly what happened, but I'm just trying to give a flavor for what may or may not be appropriate for the applicant's attorney or the applicant to hear. And going forward, at least, Mr. Kratovil, I think that was your question, was why are you not permitted there? And you're not permitted there because the law says that you're permitted in a meeting if it's covered by the Open Public Meetings Act, and this is not a meeting. It does not fit the definition of a meeting.
So just to clarify going forward, because I don't want to violate the law.
No, it's not a violation of the law, Mr. Kratovil. I think you do your job and you do your job well. I'm not faulting you for that. I'm just suggesting to you that this is what my read of the law is, that this is in fact not a meeting. You're asking why am I not permitted there, and I'm telling you this is why. Because it's not considered to be a meeting.
Right,
One where the public is entitled to not only notice, but the public is also entitled to attendance.
Right, and so just because for the future, I want to understand what's going to be the policy. If I come to the planning department on the next day of the TAC meeting, and let's say there's an applicant who's there waiting in the sort of the outside of the room, and I speak to the applicant and I say, would you mind if I attend? Would you allow me to attend the hearing and the applicant agrees and is okay with that? Will I be allowed to attend the hearing?
Mr. Kratovil, the applicant's only one party. The city is also a party to the meeting itself. And I will tell you that since it's not a meeting, you do not have a right to attend under the Open Public Meetings Act. And I don't think that you're going to get a different response if you get the invitation of the applicant. You're still going to not receive the invitation of all the members that are there as well, including the city. We're going to follow the law. The law is that if it's an open public meeting and it's subject to the Open Public Meetings Act, then your attendance is absolutely a right that you have. Until then, it's not a right. And the parties, we're not going to open up the meeting, is my understanding, to the general public.
Okay, so this is a change in the policy that was stated on the record on video before. Because I was told, and you were here when I was told, that if the applicant's okay with it, I'm allowed to be there. Now, this is a change. What you're telling me is the city is going to keep me out of the meeting even if the applicant is okay with me being in the meeting. Is that correct?
I think we've already stated the position, Mr. Kratovil. I'm not sure that, I understand this is wonderful for you getting the answer in the way that you want it, but I think we've already put the answer on the record. I mean, no disrespect, but I think we've answered it several times.
Right, but the answer's changed over time, right? And you apologized when you changed from you can come to the TAC meetings to you can only come with an invitation from the applicant. But now you're changing to you can't even come even with the invite, and there's no apology. You're not even acknowledging that it's really a change. You're acting as if this has just always been the policy, but you can watch the video of yourself telling me that I would be allowed in those meetings with the permission of the applicant.
Mr. Kratovil, I will apologize to you because I think that the clarification has been made now, and the law is the law, whether I think that the law should be something different or not. And that's what I'm stating on the record today for you.
Okay.
I apologize for all of the misunderstandings in the past. I can certainly appreciate you feeling that you've been slighted. It was certainly not meant to be a slight to you or to mislead you. Unfortunately, this is the law. This is the position of the city.
Okay, and just so I'm clear, going forward, even if the applicant wants me in the room, I will not be permitted.
You will not be permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act because it's not an Open Public Meetings Act meeting.
Right, but just because there's an Open Public Meetings Act that applies to some meetings doesn't mean
Mr. Chairman,
any meeting
I'm not
that it doesn't apply to, you're not allowed in, right? I can attend other meetings, sometimes people invite me to meetings. So just because it's not an OPMA meeting doesn't mean that you would be breaking the law by letting me in, right? That I could be allowed in, but you're choosing not to let me in.
I think it sounded like a statement to me.
Oh, I apologize. We're not making eye contact.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's not
I think it's been asked and answered quite a few times, and once again, I'm going to go back to this isn't about, you're talking about a TAC committee that we do not sit on, and it does not have anything to do with us. You're free to come here all you want, ask all the questions you want when it's appropriate, but to keep reiterating on the TAC, when it's not our position.
All due respect, I'm not going to get to go bring this up to the TAC because I'm not going to be allowed in. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm asking y'all. You decided to have a TAC. The planning board decided to have a TAC, and
I think the city, I don't think the board. Yes, correct, by ordinance, correct. So,
by ordinance.
so
Okay.
Chelsea, so my next thing to you is going to be, do you have anything other than a TAC?
No, just one final question on the TAC, if I may. Are those meetings recorded?
No,
No, they're not
no,
recorded.
we don't record them.
They're not meetings, right?
But see, that's the thing. They are meetings. They are meetings. Just like if I said that, can we go get coffee? That we would have a meeting, right? It is a meeting. Whether you wanted to record them or not, that's your choice because you're saying they're not public meetings.
But we've also we don't record them.
Did you ever record them?
In the past, I recorded for personal notes. I don't know what Glenn did, but you outward those, and we had a discussion on that a few months ago about the TAC recording. But
Yeah.
We have ceased completely recording except for minor site plan.
Okay, August 21st, was that one recorded?
The TAC?
Yes.
No, just that was the first one you attended?
Yep, that was the one.
The only thing we recorded there was the minor site plan.
Okay, and just finally, my concern, and Mr. Ital can address it if he wants, is I do believe that the very same application that he recused himself from was heard in that August 21st TAC meeting, and he was present for that, so.
That's when he discovered that he needed to recuse himself.
There you go.
Okay, he discovered it in.
Well, yeah, he went through the thing and they had a discussion and said, oh, well, I shouldn't be speaking for Aaron, but
You can speak for me because that's entirely accurate. I got there, after they came in, it was revealed that this was in fact a related entity to one that I had represented in the past. And I said, I've got to recuse myself, and I did not participate.
Well, I thank you for answering my questions. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Discussion items, anyone have any discussion? Is everyone gonna be here or not be here, that's in here
I'll
for
be
December
on-
16th?
I'll be here on the 16th, but I will not be here for the January meeting.
I don't have to do that.
you don't even know what day it is.
I'm gonna be in Florida.
Okay.
Alright, so,
I'm not gonna be here.
do I have a motion for adjournment?
I just made.
All in favor?
Yes.